How Q's most emotional Star Trek, The Next Generation scene became a hilarious meme. One of Star Trek, The Next Generation's most famous memes came from a surprisingly emotional moment involving Captain Jean-Luc Picard Patrick Stewart and Q John D. Lanky. Following the adventures of Captain Picard and the USS Enterprise D, TNG introduced the world to an iconic new Star Trek crew and ushered in a new era for the franchise. John D. Lancy's godlike Q made his debut in the TNG series premiere and quickly became a thorn in Captain Picard's side. Q popped up in 8 total episodes of TNG, making his presence felt each time. With its beloved status as one of the greatest science fiction shows of all time, it should come as no surprise that Star Trek, The Next Generation has led to countless internet memes and GIFs. One of the most famous of these features Captain Picard bringing his hand to his face in exasperation in what has been dubbed the Picard facepalm. This image has transcended the Star Trek franchise, becoming recognizable even among the non-Trekkies of the internet. The most well-known version of the Picard facepalm comes from TNG Season 3, Episode 13, Dea Q. An emotional Q confessional became one of Star Trek, The Next Generation's best memes. In Q's 4th Star Trek, The Next Generation episode, Dea Q, the omnipotent being suddenly appears on the bridge of the Enterprise D, having been stripped of his powers and his clothes by the Q Continuum. Now familiar with Q's antics, Picard and his crew are reluctant to believe that he has truly lost his powers. As Q goes on about how he has been condemned to be a member of this lowest of species, Picard performs his iconic facepalm. Q confesses that he asked the Continuum to deposit him on the Enterprise, prompting Counselor Deanna Troi Marina Sirtis to ask why. In answer to Troy's question, Q responds, "Because in all the universe, you're the closest thing I have to a friend, Jean-Luc." This prompts Picard to look up in surprise as LT. Commander Data Brent Spiner scans Q with a tricorder and pronounces him fully human. With her empathic abilities, Troi confirms that she can sense fear coming from Q just before he requests sanctuary aboard the ship. Picard is still unsure whether to believe him, leading Q to question what he has to do to convince them. LT Worf Michael Dorn provides the succinct and hilarious answer, "Die." In his first few appearances, Q took on an antagonistic role, putting humanity on trial and sending the Enterprise D across the galaxy to meet the Borg. Dea Q marks Q's transition from villain to annoying ally, as he reveals his genuine fondness for humanity and Jean-Luc Picard. When Q remarks that Picard is the closest thing he has to a friend, Jean-Luc looks up from his facepalm in surprise, not exasperation. At this point, Picard still thinks Q has some nefarious scheme in mind, and the Enterprise captain certainly doesn't think of Q as a friend yet. When Star Trek, The Next Generation first aired in 1987, few characters stood out like the enigmatic, omnipotent being known simply as Q. Played with theatrical flair and sardonic wit by John D. Lanky, Q was the ultimate cosmic trickster, godlike, unpredictable, and much to Captain Picard's eternal annoyance, utterly obsessed with humanity. Yet, behind his playful torment, there's always an undercurrent of something deeper. That emotional depth reached its crescendo in one of Q's final appearances on TNG in the series finale All Good Things. In this landmark episode, Q's usual smugness gave way, just for a moment, to something rarely seen in the Star Trek universe, sincere emotion. With Jean-Luc Picard's fate hanging in the balance and the fate of humanity on trial once again, Q delivered a line that sent shivers down viewers' spines. "You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc?" His voice trembled, his gaze heavy. For the first time, Q wasn't laughing, teasing, or taunting. He was, dare we say, worried. And just like that, the once omnipotent mischief maker exposed a glimpse of genuine feeling. Naturally, it became a meme. The scene that launched 1,000 edits. To understand how such a deeply charged moment of television became comedy gold for internet users, one must first appreciate the context of the scene. In All Good Things, Q pulls Picard through time, guiding and goading him as he attempts to solve a temporal paradox that threatens the very existence of life in the galaxy. When Picard fails to grasp the metaphysical lesson behind the test, his thinking still rooted in logic, not insight, Q grows uncharacteristically emotional. There's a crack in his omniscient facade. For longtime fans, the weight of that line wasn't just about Picard. It was about humanity, about transcendence, and about the very purpose of existence. But for meme makers, it was the perfect dramatic pause to repurpose for literally everything else. From existential dread to everyday drama, it didn't take long for internet culture to do what it does best: repurpose solemn drama into viral absurdity. You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? Line has since been plastered across thousands of memes ranging from the sardonic to the surreal. A screenshot of Q mid-monologue now accompanies captions like, "You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? Pineapple does belong on pizza." Or, "You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? It's pronounced GIF, not GIF." And then there's the meta layer. "You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc?" This isn't just a meme. It's a statement. Ironically, the very fact that the moment was so poignant made it irresistible for satire. The intensity of Q's face, combined with the sheer gravitas of the scene's lighting and musical scoring, provided fertile ground for dramatic irony. The more serious the source, the funnier the meme. Why this moment resonates and ticks. There's a fine line between mockery and homage, and Star Trek memes often walk it with Vulcan precision. The reason Q's line became a meme isn't because fans didn't respect it, it's because they did. The meme is a celebration of the character's evolution. From a chaotic neutral interloper to a quasi-mentor with emotional depth, Q's journey was both ridiculous and profound. By turning that final line into a meme, fans are doing what the best Trekkies do, interpreting and reinterpreting canon with a wink and a nod. Also, let's be real, John D. Lancey's delivery of the line is just so meme-worthy. There's the raised eyebrow, the lilting tone, the pause. It's theater. The scene was tailor-made for internet exaggeration, even if that wasn't the intent in 1994. The evolution of the meme. Over the years, the meme has mutated into numerous formats. Image macros, usually a freeze frame of Q with the caption. GIFs, capturing the moment in motion, often looped endlessly to highlight Q's exasperation. Reaction videos, YouTubers responding to someone saying something controversial, followed immediately by Q's line. TikToks and Reels, modern creators now act out their own Q moment in parody sketches, complete with bad wigs and green screen effects. Each version adds new layers of irony, commentary, or absurdity. There are entire Twitter threads dedicated to recontextualizing the scene into political arguments, philosophical debates, or dating advice. John D. Lankey, the meme-aware immortal. Even John D. Lankey himself has acknowledged the meme in interviews and fan events. When asked about it during a recent Star Trek convention, he laughed and said, "You know, you've made an impact when you become a meme that even your kids quote back to you. It's a fitting tribute to a character that defies simple classification." Q is both the chaos and the conscience of the Star Trek universe. That one emotional line, delivered with the weight of the universe, has found eternal life in an entirely new medium, humor. Star Trek's unique meme culture. Q's memification isn't an isolated incident. Star Trek as a franchise has always lent itself to both deep philosophical reflection and glorious meme content. Think of Spock's eyebrow, Picard's facepalm, or Data's "I do not understand" catchphrases. Fans have always oscillated between reverence and roast.